Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Remembering John Pierrakos. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ilse, how do I say your surname properly, Ilse?
In German, you say Kretzschmar.
Thank you. I had my own version of it, but I wanted to hear it so much from you. Thank you. Ilse is the founder of Core Energetics in Mexico, and she's been a long-term trainer, facilitator, supervisor, and consultant, and continues to do so. But you had a lot to do with John, Ilse. Can I ask you, how did you meet John originally?
I met John in 1987 in one of these big workshops he was doing in Trimurti, which was a beautiful center in the wine area near Saint-Tropez. And that was I had my first experience as a group participant there with him. But I had known about him. I had read a little bit about him, more about Alexander Lowen, because he published so much more. But I had a client, and that client had trouble with her boyfriend in New York. And she used to live about 3 months in Mexico and 3 months in New York. And I considered she needed some help during the time in New York. And so I gave her the two names I knew, Alexander Lowen and John Pierrakos. Okay, she got to John Pierrakos. And so he knew about me, I knew about him about a year and a half. And when in France, when I said my name, I said, oh, you are the therapist from Mexico. And he was enthusiastic about the idea that I was in Mexico. And I felt it from the beginning. We had a very good contact together. And I had work, he did work with me. And I had been already in psychotherapeutic and body-centered therapies for many years. But when he worked with me, I felt that there was a depth in the work that I had not known before. I think it was his big heart and his knowing exactly where to get me. And so after that session, it was clear for me that I wanted to learn from him. So I thought, okay, I will go to New York to his trainings once a month. But that was not very realistic. In times, my children lived at home, my boyfriend, and so on and so on. The money. So it was not realistic to go once a month to New York. So I, with a colleague, we invited him to come to Mexico, and he was thrilled about that. And so I organized first a workshop together with a colleague, with Patricia Estrada, but then the training, I had enough people from my body-oriented trainings I was directing. And so we were more than 30 people coming together and started the first training.
Wow, fantastic.
How I met him.
Yes. So it's really beautiful how you explained the connection with him and his big heart, because of course you were experienced in body-oriented therapy. So the science of it was known to you. Sorry, I've lost you. The science of it was known to you, but that experience really made a difference, didn't it?
Yeah, and I had no idea what core energetic meant. Okay, I knew the word core, the core of being. Core is a known word in English. But, and I had been into spiritual teachings all the way, but this coming together of body, mind, spirit, and working through the emotions and the will John brought into, that was new for me.
Uh-huh.
And I felt that he had Don und Don, a very special talent. He had a very sharp diagnostic eye to see the body, to look at the body, to look kind of through the body.
Yes.
And in a very delicate but firm way to get to the origins of your thoughts and work there. And I had not experienced that with other teachers in this subtle and at the same, he was strong and subtle at the same time. You don't find that so often.
It's very rare. Beautiful.
Sometimes it's this or that. And in the 70s, you know, bioenergetics and all the body work was kind of rough stuff. And John could work kind of rough too. But at the same time, when he holds your hand or your body, it was with all his heart. And he just got through to me, you know. And he was very important in my, let's say, growing up, let's say.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah. And how was it when you got him to, well, you started the training? So you had him come and visit and do workshops, and then all of a sudden there was this training in Mexico. How was that as an experience? Was it only John that was coming to train you, or how did that unfold?
It was a training 4 days long. The first one, John came. I was next to him translating and being his assistant. I learned core energetics being his assistant because there was no one else there. And it was almost all of the people were already professionals. It was, I think, the first training was the one where most of the Mexican people I knew who were my students or who were students of other body-oriented trainers, they all came together there. Most of them already or later had institutes. So it was really a group willing to learn from John. And he enjoyed it very, very much to come to Mexico. He said it was a little closer for him as a Greek man than being in the United States, you know. Mexico was a little more warm-hearted, a little bit more explosive, more emotional, no? You get more easily into emotions.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And it would have excited him to be like that with you there.
Yeah, it was exciting. And we were always looking forward for him to come. And for me, it was, of course, very special because being so close to him, because translating, I'm not a very good translator. Even when we were invited, he was invited to give conferences, speeches at the university. And I said, we need a professional translator. No, he said, you know my work. And this is more important than the words. No?
Wow. Yeah.
And so I felt translating with him and assisting him, of course. It was like getting into a transcendent thing. It was just, sometimes I didn't even feel what I was doing. It was just going, you know.
Yes, surrendering with the flow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was kind of an ongoing flow, you know, kind of get in and doing what has to be done. Yes.
Amazing. So as you had a few different relationships with John, obviously he was your teacher, he was the trainer, he was your therapist at times, but I suspect whilst he was in Mexico, you spent some personal time with him as well in socializing. How was that for you to see the man outside of work.
That was very nice. I always picked him up at the airport.
Yes.
I decided I needed a bigger car because he came with so much luggage.
Oh, I remember his big bags. They were so funny, a little man with such a big bag.
So I got a bigger car to put all his stuff in. And he liked to go to a very elegant hotel, a very nice hotel. I like it also, so it was no problem for me. And then we went out for dinner and talked. And I had, for myself, the training place was the owner of the training place, which the name is Tonali, that means the sun, translating it. She was in the first core group also. She had been a former client of mine and student. So she was into the work also, but she didn't have rooms separated from students. So we went to a very nice hotel. It was about 50 minutes to drive. But, you know, I was in my early 50s, so I didn't bother about that. And it was so nice to be with him in the car all the time and to have dinner together, have breakfast. He talked about his Greek upbringing and about the history of Greece and the Romans. And I feel I had kind of, if we talk about transferential stuff, he was not for me, let's say, the father I had missed as a little girl when I grew up in the war in Germany. I had, I think, gone through that already. But my father had an accident when I was 21 years old, and I was not in very good terms with him. So he was gone. I got very sick, and I was kind of numb for some times. And I think John was for me that father, you know, that I would have liked to have as a young adult woman, going out with men, talking about that, getting some advice, and having a father interested in what I was interested in my growing process and in helping people.
Yes.
So it was kind of, and he loved that, of course, and I liked it too. So we had a close relationship in that sense.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
That I didn't feel it wasn't complicated. We had some misunderstandings and some fights. Yes, we did also. Yes. But I learned a lot through that also. You know, because to stand up against him is not always easy. If it's your teacher, your supervisor, your kind of father figure and all that. But I learned it. And what I liked about him very much, that he could take it. When I felt in some aspect that I was absolutely right, you know, and I had to stand up and tell him, he could take it and said, okay, let me get through that. And we could talk it out. And that was wonderful also, because I had not have that. I didn't have that with my own father. So that part was very, very fulfilling for me too. No?
Yeah, that's
and
very beautiful.
Sometimes it was difficult for me, sometimes for him also. No, but we could do it. No?
Yeah.
And I still say thank you, John, for that. You know,
it's amazing for when we can have that healthy dialogue for those authority figures, and an understanding of how to find ourselves and our voice in an authentic way. That's very powerful. Yeah. So in terms of, thank you for sharing that, because that personal part is so important. You know, John, the man, how you were with him, your own journey. I mean, these are the wonderful jewels that I was hoping that these conversations would uncover, so that our broader community got to know John a bit. I mean, there are so many that only know of John as a legacy from his book, from the work that folds out, and to hear about him, the man, and your experiences in these multi-relationships you had with him is really very encouraging, the feedback we're getting. So thank you for that, Ilse. In terms of as a professional, because I mean, you're already a professional, you were learning the work. What are some of the most important things that you got from John that you took forward into the work?
The connection, head, heart, sex. And I think his best works I have seen doing with people, and as many of the people had been already in training with me, yes, and had been or were still clients with me. So I could see what he was, let's say, adding to what we had started.
Fantastic.
And I think specifically this, to get the whole body connection together.
Yeah.
That I think was very special in him. The work, it was personally for me special and professionally. That the head alone doesn't work. It belongs to the heart. Sex alone is one thing, but get the heart into it.
Yes.
And at that time, when the time I was together with John, I was in a relationship and I could talk about all that with John. And that was, of course, very nurturing for me too. That was professionally, I think, sex, heart, which was one of his favorite topics, that was his favorite. I think his best topic, to get the sex with the heart together. And his very deep body work together with the analytical thinking. He knew what he was doing. But it didn't came out of his mind. It came out of his heart, out of his body. But it was very clear that it was the right thing to do.
Wow.
And
yeah.
Sometimes people said, what did you do? Can you explain it? And it was like, he just did it.
Yes.
Later, I don't remember which teacher it was, but one teacher that came in from the United States, he was good in explaining what John did.
Yes. No, I understand. A few said that John was so busy doing that in watching him, they started to learn actually what he did. And then he would agree when they spoke about it at times because he was so busy doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So Ilse, this is so beautiful. You've identified a couple of topics there that I want to come back and have a different conversation with you on. What John loved. You spoke about the heart-sex connection. Also, being, what was the second thing you mentioned that I really just was drawn to a moment ago?
I think the deep body work.
The deep body work, yes. So I'm going to come back. Yeah, I'm going to have a separate conversation with you about those, please, if I may, and I'll organize a time because I'd love to just have you. I loved how you went into the zone and I could feel you seeing John in front of you as you were describing. And I want to capture that energy for everyone to experience, if that's okay.
Yeah, because he was almost never in front of me. He was side to me.
Right.
Side to me doing. And I had to listen. And often we had somebody translating his English into Spanish because he didn't want it so loud near his ear when he was working. And so I did the part Spanish, English.
Gotcha.
Okay.
No, you were busy.
He liked it. yeah, for me it was easier, and he liked it better that way.
Yeah, and
When
he had
questions over there, okay,
yes.
I said it, let's say, in a lower voice to his ear. So I was most of the time side by side.
I understand.
Working.
Yeah. And he would have really loved that with the connection he had with you, I can see, just having you close and working with you in that way. That would have been lovely for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Ilse, thank you so much for your time today, sharing some of the thoughts about John. And I'll come back because there's a few other conversations there that I know we would love to have and speak more about your experiences, not only with John, but as you've taken the work out into the world, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you again, and we'll chat very soon.
Yeah, and thank you very